Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. This episode with Jimmy Estruch III is his origin story. So enjoy the time with him. Thank you, sponsors: Topps Panini Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, and Comcy.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. So here's the interview with Jimmy. We have a few things in common, and we got started out on the fact that we're both the third and have great dads and grandfathers. So here it is.
I do men's dinners, my back house where I have my cards and stuff.
Yeah.
I do the hobby dinners once a year for vintage and modern. That's a lot of fun. But other months I do other things. And one of the months I did a dinner, all guys. I called it Jim, Jimmy, James. You were not invited unless your name was Jim, James, Jimmy. There were 10 Jims, 3 Jimmys, and 2 Jameses. So most of them are Jim.
That's awesome.
No one had any problem with remembering the names.
I was going to say, right? You probably got a lot of heads turned. Hey, Jimmy, and 10 guys turned their heads.
They did. Some of the dinners, I don't tell people in advance what the common factor is, because there's always a common factor.
Okay.
One was guys with military experience. One was guys that had lived overseas or had international experience. But the one was just Jim, Jimmy, or James. It was a lot of fun.
Great.
And some of them, it's just your name. But
right.
The third, which I also am, is I never regard it as a burden. I don't know about you, but I take after my dad in many respects, and I take after my grandfather in many respects.
Sure.
I don't know if you had that same experience. So it's
definitely almost like a compliment, like you said. Especially a lot of my attributes and a lot of my interests and whatnot obviously came from my father and my grandfather as well. So yeah, I don't look at it as a burden. I think it's cool, like you said. There's not that many people with a third at the end.
You got to live up to it, though.
That's right.
That's still around. I don't know about yours.
My dad's still around too. Yep. So I'm lucky enough to have him around for sure.
The hobby's just en fuego. So a lot of opportunities to make money, but each person needs to have their niche. I basically felt like I got into a niche, but then the niche got bigger. But you've got to have some distinctive of why somebody wants to do business with you and your approach. So.
Sure. Yep. And that's, I guess, where I was trying to get your, opinion on things like that, as far as how to make yourself unique in the hobby when there's so many people kind of coming at it. But
no, being unique is not always great, because if you're so unique that people are not asking for that service, you need to figure out what's missing, what's not being done that should be done, or something's being done that I can do better. People used to tell me, well, doesn't it upset you that back 30, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, let's say, you got all these competitors that are doing price guides, and some of them I think are ripping you off. And so it's you get competitors. If you don't have competitors, that's a red flag. If you're the only one doing something. So a lot of restaurants and shoe stores, if you draw people to the category, then I always felt we were going to get our share. And so maybe for you, you have your niche and you're going to get your share, and you build on that share.
Quick summary of our background and whatnot. We started about a year and a half ago, full time, I guess, full bore into this. We hit it at the right time, as far as prices were down a little bit there. First when the pandemic started, we got into there, and we've been able to stay profitable this whole time.
Let me stop you.
Sure.
Been able to stay profitable in the greatest year in the history of the hobby.
Exactly. That's why I didn't want to say that as like a braggadocio, just because right now you can pretty much buy anything, and it's going to obviously 2x or 3x by the time you go to sell it. But yeah, as far as that end, we've done, pretty well. What we primarily do is we buy and sell slabs. We don't do, really any breaks or anything like that. We stick to graded mostly. And then, like I said, we buy, resell. We have certain price points that we know where our target price is on. That's where our bread and butter has been made. We're starting to look more so into possibly getting more into the content realm, where we're starting to be able to create a little bit more value as far as being helpful when people have questions. I want to be that place to go when people are discovering or searching for answers that are going to actually help them, not answers that are going to lead them to buy a product that I may have, where I feel like a lot of times it's almost biased information when people get some information where I want it to be genuine information. That when I first got into it, that's what I was looking for, as far as being able to put like your trust in getting a good, serious answer about something without all the fluff. So that's what we're looking to maybe shift towards. As far as we thought about doing the break once a week to engage the community a little bit on our Instagram page. We have had some requests like that. Instagram is our main platform. We have about 18,000 followers so far. It's a pretty active page. Our engagement does pretty well there. Again, we've started to expand. We're on Twitter now. We don't do much on there, but we're on Twitter, we're on TikTok, we're on some of those other social platforms. But Instagram's our main platform. So as far as how we make our money at the end of the day, we buy and sell slabs. Obviously, if it's good graded stuff, we'll buy good graded raw stuff, send it out for grading, and then resell it when it comes back, obviously, for the profit. So that's where, we are right now. Our biggest thing is, do we just continue to get better at what we're doing, or do we expand a little bit? And how do we make our name in the hobby is, I guess, our next question there.
As you're buying and selling, is it all in your own controlled ecosystem pretty much through your Instagram or whatever, or your website?
Correct.
Or
yes, correct.
Selling on other platforms or buying on other platforms? Or
primarily it's Instagram right now, just because we've got a decent sized platform there. We do obviously search eBay constantly, where we're looking at cards on there. We don't sell much on eBay just because we haven't really had the need to. Maybe obviously if we start doing larger quantity, maybe in lower value slab, we may look at something like that. But right now we typically are like $300-$400 plus on most of our slabs. So we have a good clientele built up on Instagram where we do sell a lot of that stuff quickly. I've talked to some of the people from my slabs and whatnot about possibly, putting some graded stuff on there as far as an alternative to eBay. But right now it's primarily just Instagram as far as selling. Buying, we will reach out, go on eBay, try and obviously see if we can make deals off of eBay if we have them on our Instagram account.
How much of your appeal is personality? It seems like you're a personality guy. Is that part of it? Because there's lots of choices for people to buy or sell their cards.
Sure.
Much of it is personality that you can communicate through your social presence and things like that people enjoy your world. They've got to come into your world.
Sure.
So is that part of it?
I think so. I think now that we've established ourselves a little bit, we've been there, like I said, about 15 months on Instagram, where they're starting to see we're genuine, we're for real, and that, what they see is truly what they get. And this is a passion of mine, obviously. So I think they sense that when they either talk to me on the phone or we video chat or we even just have a message via DM. I think they can pick up on that I'm not just trying to push a card. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to maybe the athlete or maybe the grading company or whatever the card is. Like I said, it's not just I'm trying to push this so I can make money. I want them to get a full understanding of what they're buying and possibly get them ready to make their next move once they've purchased that card, kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it for sure.
What's your breakdown of your business in terms of modern versus vintage? What's the average age of the cards you're selling? Is it pretty new or what?
I would say it's probably about 70% modern right now, 30% quote unquote vintage, but really anything not super ultra modern as they want to call it now, which is like your Prism basketball and stuff like that. A lot of like your newer Topps baseball. I do personally, I get into some of the cooler sets from maybe the 70s, like the Wiener Landis set. I enjoy that 1979 set. Stuff like that I personally get into, and I try and put more of that kind of stuff on my page to show some of these maybe younger people that there's more out there than just this Prism ultra modern world, which I do have probably a good percentage of guys that follow me that are 40s to 50s. So I definitely get some of that request as far as they want some of those Hall of Fame star rookies and some of maybe that more unique stuff rather than just seeing like a Zion Prism or a Luka Prism. But honestly, the bread and butter, I would say, is my Prism stuff, just because it's so liquid right now. There's so many people that want to buy it, which and as far as price points, it's pretty set as far as I know if I could buy it for this, where it's going to get to as far as a ceiling. So it's easiest for that point. But yeah, probably 70 to 30.
Yeah, the liquidity and the velocity. You're a business guy. You can love the hobby, but you're still have the business. But
sure,
just having retro in your name, it seems like you've got to kind of show that there's some movement or opportunity. What we're seeing in the industry, I get asked this all the time, is that when something dips in value, then what do? Do you buy it or do you move to something else? There's always going to be this tension between modern cards and vintage cards. It's a healthy tension that vintage appears to be undervalued or overvalued. They're always being compared back and forth. So if you're RetroBoomin, are you investment advisory in a sense?
We're not, I wouldn't say advisory yet, but we're getting to the point where we want to set something up. We're working on some brainstorming as far as this summer, coming out with possibly not advisory service, but like more of like an in-depth where people can ask their questions all the time, where we want to keep the price down. We don't want it to be like a money grabbing thing, but we want it to be like a price point where people appreciate our time too, where they're not just constantly messaging us, wasting time, questions they could look up on Google and things like that. But we also want to be there where we can, if we need to have a once a month Zoom call, 30-minute Zoom call type thing where we can help people maybe organize their collection, maybe set them up. That's something we're aiming towards. Right now, I wouldn't consider us like giving advisory advice or anything like that. When people reach out, we do obviously help them, but that's what our intentions are to get to as well, is to get more of that investment side.
Yeah. I'm a longtime subscriber to Men's Health magazine.
Sure.
And they always have this article in there, eat this, not that.
Okay.
So
right.
something that supposedly tastes the same, but one is better for you and one is not. And you have that same opportunity. If somebody's on your Instagram and it's buy this, not that. On the other hand, that's somewhat disingenuous when it's buy this card of mine instead of this other card of somebody else's.
Right. Exactly.
But you're right. If I just published my phone number and said, hey, call me, you got any questions about it? Should I buy this card or that card? And it depends on the price. It depends on the condition. It depends on all these different things. If you're giving advice, ideally, you're saying, I've got cards for sale that are priced to sell. Pick out something you'd like. I'm hoping you do well with it, but I'm not operating a charity here. I'm buying at X and I'm selling for a little bit more than X.
Sure.
And when you go to sell, you may sell for more, you may sell for less, but I'm picking out good stuff.
No, that's a good point too. Yeah, that's a good point and I try and portray that when people ask, I really don't buy anything that's junk. If I don't see it being like something, because the goal is obviously like when I sell it to somebody, I don't want to see the card go down. Obviously, I'd like to see that card continue to go up, ideally in a perfect world. So then obviously they come back to you.
That's
but
your repeat business, right?
Exactly.
Right personality in the world. And if you're
right.
pricing it too aggressively, and then there's not opportunity for them to have some upside, then you're going to have short-term success. But I have learned, this is not a theorem or anything, but I've realized when I look back at the deals I've done and what I do at card shows now, I am more inclined to buy from people I like. The prices are not that much different a lot of times. And you can find, unless it's something really rare, you can find it more than one place. So
sure.
I'm camping out at a table of somebody that I think, or I'm going to go to a card shop or deal with somebody that I think I like the way they do business.
Mm-hmm.
Surely that must be one of your differentiators, that they've got lots of choices. Why are they choosing to come to y'all? And by the way, you keep saying we. You've got a partner or you've got a team?
I do. Yeah, I have one business partner, Whitney Reed. He's currently, he does have obviously a full-time job besides this. He's vice president of BPI Nutrition and Wellness. So he helps me along with most of the quote unquote business decisions. I use him as far as I ask a lot of my day-to-day business questions, where I do more of like the actual card decisions as far as what to buy and whatnot. But he's quote unquote a business partner right now.
He tells you how much money you made.
Basically, yeah. He leaves all that the buying and selling I set up to me, but he at the end of the day is much better as far as partnerships go, as far as branding. He's already been through that realm, so I just like to have him too. Especially, he's just great wealth of knowledge. So I like keeping him obviously around. He's a great guy, and he's doing this not to help me out, but he's definitely spending his time in other areas. So I definitely appreciate it.
You're a fellow Jimmy the Third, as I am, but I've noticed, and this is probably true of everybody, but
sure.
you have a commercial brand in RetroBoomin. But then you have your own personal brand. For me, I had that too. Yet my corporate brand kind of dominated for many decades.
Sure.
Now I'm trying to be back to being like a regular guy, straddle, that people know you under your name, under your personal brand, as opposed to RetroBoomin. Is there tension there, or is that just a normal course of business?
There isn't really, I guess, any tension as of now. I've thought about obviously building like my own personal brand as well, as far as with my name and being someone, obviously I'm not a pioneer now, but as far as being into it early a couple of years ago, there's a lot of people that know me for being one of the early large buyers of a lot of the modern basketball and stuff like that. When you're able to buy raw Ja and Lucas and Zions for under $100, being able to buy those, submit those, and get those back in a reasonable time, that was awesome. Being able to capitalize on that profit. We got lucky, I guess, and blessed a little bit as far as just getting into things at the right time. So that definitely helped.